The secret human migration that rewrote everything we thought we knew. 70,000 years ago, humanity almost died. A supervolcano erupted, the sky went dark, temperatures plummeted, food disappeared. The human population crashed. According to genetic evidence, only 2,000 people survived. 2,000. That is smaller than most high schools. Every person alive today descended from those survivors. 8 billion people, all from 2,000 individuals. But here is the part that will blow your mind. Those survivors did not stay in Africa. They left. They walked out into a dying world and they conquered it. This is the secret migration that saved humanity and rewrote everything we thought we knew. 74,000 years ago, Mount Toba erupted. Not a normal eruption, a supervolcano, the largest eruption in 2 million years. It ejected 800 cubic miles of material into the atmosphere: ash, rock, sulfur dioxide. The ash clouds circled the globe, blocked the sun. Temperatures dropped 10 to 15 degrees worldwide. This is called a volcanic winter, and it lasted for years, maybe decades. Plants died, animals starved, ecosystems collapsed. In Africa, where humans lived, conditions were catastrophic. The population crashed. Genetic studies show a massive bottleneck. From perhaps 10,000 humans before the eruption, only 2,000 survived. 2,000 people scattered across Africa, isolated, desperate. By all logic, humans should have gone extinct. Many species did. Giant animals disappeared. Smaller populations vanished. The world was dying. But humans, they survived, barely. And then, around 70,000 years ago, something remarkable happened. Instead of waiting for conditions to improve, instead of hiding, a small group made a decision. They walked out of Africa, into the unknown, into a world struggling to survive. And that decision changed everything. According to genetic and archaeological evidence, the Great Migration started around 70,000 years ago. A small group, maybe just a few hundred people, left Africa through the Horn, modern-day Ethiopia. They crossed into the Middle East, possibly through the Sinai Peninsula or across the narrow strait at the southern Red Sea. This was the only time in human history when most of humanity left Africa to stay. But why leave? Africa was home. Even in terrible conditions, it was familiar. Researchers believe climate change forced their hand. As Africa dried up, resources became scarce, competition intensified. Leaving was a gamble, a desperate move, but staying meant certain death. So they walked, following coastlines, following rivers, following food. They did not have maps, did not know where they were going, just knew they had to keep moving. The Middle East offered something Africa did not: water, vegetation, animals that had never seen humans before. Easy hunting, fresh resources, hope. They stopped, rested, had children, grew in numbers. But the migration did not end. The next generation kept moving, east into Asia, north into Europe, eventually south into Australia and the Americas. This was not one journey, it was thousands, over tens of thousands of years. But it started with that first group, the first humans to leave Africa permanently. Every step they took, every child born, every obstacle overcome, it all led to us. Because everyone outside of Africa today descends from that original migration. The journey was not easy. Humans faced obstacles that should have stopped them. Mountains, deserts, rivers, oceans, ice sheets. They walked into an ice age. Europe was frozen. Glaciers covered the north. Temperatures 20 degrees colder than today. Yet humans adapted, made clothing from animal skins, built shelters, controlled fire. They hunted megafauna, woolly mammoths, giant elk, cave bears, animals 10 times their size. And they survived. In Southeast Asia, they faced jungles, dense, hot, full of diseases their bodies had never encountered. Still, they pushed on. Then they did something extraordinary. They crossed oceans. To reach Australia, humans had to cross at least 50 miles of open water 60,000 years ago. They built boats, rafts, something that could float and carry people. This required planning, cooperation, technology, innovation. And they made it. Aboriginal Australians descend from those first ocean voyagers. But the migration continued. Some groups went north into Siberia, across frozen tundra. Around 15,000 years ago, some crossed the Bering Land Bridge from Asia into the Americas. Within a few thousand years, humans had reached the southern tip of South America, from the Arctic to Patagonia. By 10,000 years ago, humans lived on every continent except Antarctica. From 2,000 survivors of a volcanic winter to millions spread across the globe, every environment, every climate, every ecosystem. We adapted, we survived, we conquered, and we did it together, not as separate groups, but as one connected species. Because genetic evidence shows continued mixing. People didn't just migrate and isolate, they met other groups, exchanged genes, shared knowledge. The Great Migration was not just physical, it was genetic, cultural, social. It shaped everything we are. How do we know this? DNA. Every person carries genetic markers, mutations that happen over time. These markers act like timestamps. By comparing DNA from people worldwide, scientists can trace lineages back, following mutations backward in time. And all roads lead to Africa, 70,000 years ago. But DNA is not the only evidence. Archaeologists find tools, campsites, bones. In Israel, they found human remains dated to 50,000 years ago, not African, not Neanderthal, early modern humans. In India, stone tools match African designs, showing cultural continuity. In Australia, rock art dates back 65,000 years, proof of human presence. In the Americas, footprints preserved in volcanic ash, dated to 23,000 years ago, thousands of years earlier than we thought. Every discovery pushes the timeline back, shows humans spread faster than we believed. Computer models now track likely routes, coastal migrations, following food sources, avoiding obstacles. And the models match the genetic data, confirming the story. Every year, new evidence emerges, new fossils, new DNA analysis, new dates. The story of human migration is still being written, but the core truth remains. We all came from Africa, from a small group of survivors, and we conquered the world. That ancient migration shaped everything: language, culture, genetics, physical features. Every language spoken today traces back through those migration routes. From a few original languages in Africa, thousands developed. Physical diversity emerged from adaptation. Skin color changed based on sunlight. Body shape adapted to climate. Features evolved over thousands of years. We are not different species. We are one species that adapted to many environments. Every culture carries echoes of that journey, stories, myths, traditions. Many cultures have flood myths, migration stories, tales of great journeys. Because we are a species defined by movement, by adaptation, by survival. And we never stopped migrating, from rural to urban, across borders, across oceans. The restlessness of that first group, still in us. We have walked across every continent. Now we look to the stars. The same drive that pushed humans out of Africa 70,000 years ago pushes us to Mars today. We are a species of explorers, migrants, survivors. It's in our DNA, literally. 70,000 years ago, 2,000 people stood at the edge of extinction. The world was dying, food was scarce, survival seemed impossible. But instead of giving up, they walked into the unknown, into danger, into hope. They crossed deserts, climbed mountains, sailed oceans, survived ice ages. They adapted, innovated, cooperated, persisted. And from those 2,000 survivors came 8 billion descendants. Every person alive today carries the legacy of that journey, in our genes, in our drive to explore, in our ability to adapt. We are not separate races. We are one family, one species, one story. The secret migration out of Africa didn't just save humanity, it created humanity as we know it. And the journey, it never ended. We are still walking, still exploring, still surviving. Because that's what we do. That's who we are. If this story moved you, subscribe now. Next video explores how ancient humans survived the Ice Age and what we can learn for climate change today. Hit like, share this with someone who loves human history.
Drop a comment. Which part of the human migration story amazes you most? And remember, you are the descendant of survivors, explorers, the bravest humans who ever lived. That is your heritage. That is your story.